Hey everyone, today we had Erika Mitchell on, and she was on today talking to us about the Georgia State School Superintendent position.
Well, the state superintendent of schools is kind of similar to your local superintendent with your local school districts. But this is more for a state level when you talk about the state superintendent of schools. They are the secretary to the Board of Education for the state. So Georgia State Board of Education, they are the secretary to that board, which is a board that has board members that come from different places in Georgia that are, I believe, appointed by the governor. And I do not recall how many board members it is because they have different districts they represent. And so they serve as the board, the superintendent serves as the secretary, but the state superintendent is in place to pretty much enforce the educational laws, rules, and policy of the State Board of Education.
And how does that position affect the voters and their families and their daily lives?
When you have, let me use an example, where you have a state law that's passed that's going to affect the State Board of Education, that's going to affect the local school districts. It is up to the superintendent to enforce those state laws for all of the school districts in the state of Georgia. For example, we have a a school and safety law that no weapons can be brought in school. That is enforced by the state superintendent, and that is enforceable for all local school districts, that no one can bring any weapons on school grounds. Then from there, there's policy that's rolled out, and we take their model policy from the state board that is developed by the state board and superintendent together, and those are the model policies or enforceable policies that we have to follow. So if you're a voter and you have kids in the school district, every decision that is made from the State Board of Education and the superintendent is going to affect you in your local schools. If it's regarding like free and reduced lunch, if it's regarding curriculum has been a big discussion when it comes to critical race theory, right? What you can teach and what you can't teach, what you can say and what you can't say, who feel uncomfortable, who's not uncomfortable. And so when you make these, when the laws come through the state board, the superintendent have to enforce those laws and rules.
Right. And so why is it important for the voters to educate themselves about the candidates running for this position?
Well, they need to know their ideology. They need to know where their values are, what their vision is for the state schools. And you have to educate yourself on those candidates, because if your values are in line with theirs, or your values might not be in line with theirs, that's how you're going to vote. But not knowing, you don't know who you're voting for, if you're voting at all. A lot of times people skip names they don't recognize. Sometimes people vote for names they recognize but might not know their values. So it's very important to educate yourself on candidates, any candidates, especially when it's going to trickle down to your local governance and your local elected officials.
Is there anything else that that the voters may need to know to become better aware in concerning the position that you'd like to add?
With the state superintendent position, if people have any issues or things they would like to see, there's ways that you can communicate and reach out to them. You can go to the Georgia State Board of Education website. You can go to the Georgia Department of Education. And there you have your state superintendent bio, his background. And because we do have at the current time, we do have a male state superintendent. And there you can find a lot of different resources. If you have any questions about what is happening in your schools locally or just on the state level. So I will always suggest people to go to that website and kind of look around, play around, and see what information is available. And if you have any questions, who do you reach out to for those concerns? But then also, know that when you elect someone, they're here to serve you. first, far and foremost. And so I always tell people to keep that in mind. We are public servants. We're here to serve. And the people who elect us are who we serve. And it's not the other way around. I would also like to point out that this election that's coming up in November is pretty important. It's pretty important. And no matter who you vote for the people that have your same values. Don't just vote for someone because somebody told you to. Vote for someone that you see that they have the same values, and do your research, because it's very critical that you know who you vote for, that you know who represent you.
Thank you so much for being tuned to our conversation today. Hopefully you learned more about the state office we talked about today. Please don't forget, register to vote, get out and vote. November 8th, your vote makes a difference. Let's let our voices be heard.